We are now reading about Indira Ekadasi, which is today, for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnavas. Maharaj Yudhishthira Maharaj said, O Madhusudana, O killer of the Madhu demon, what is the name of the Ekadashi that occurs during the dark fortnight of the month of Vasvina, September-October? Please describe its glories to me. The Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna, replied, This holy day is called Indira Ekadashi. If a person fasts on this day, all his sins are eradicated, and his forefathers who have fallen into hell are liberated. O best of kings, one who simply hears about this Ekadashi achieves the great merit earned by performing a horse sacrifice. In the Satya Yuga, there lived a king named Indrasena, who was so powerful that he destroyed all his enemies. His kingdom was called Mahismatipuri. The glorious and highly religious king Indrasena took good care of his subjects, and therefore he was rich in gold, grains, sons, and grandsons. He was greatly devoted to Sri Vishnu as well. He especially enjoyed chanting my name, calling out, Govinda, Govinda. In this way, King Indrasena systematically dedicated himself to pure spiritual life and spent much time meditating on the absolute truth. One day, as King Indrasena happily and peacefully presided over his assembly, the perfect orator, Narada Muni, was seen descending from the sky. The king offered Devarshi Narada, the saint among the demigods, great respect by greeting him with joined palms, inviting him into the palace, offering him a comfortable seat, washing his feet, and speaking sweet words of welcome. Then Narada Muni said to Maharaj Indrasena, O king, are the 7 limbs of your kingdom prospering? Is your mind absorbed in thinking of how you can properly perform your occupational duty? Are you becoming more and more devoted to the Supreme Lord, Sri Vishnu? The king replied, By your kind grace, O greatest of sages, everything is quite well. Today, just by your presence, all the sacrifices in my kingdom are successful. Please show me your mercy and explain the reason for your visit here. Sri Narada, the sage among the demigods, then said, O lion among kings, listen to my astonishing words. When I descended from Brahmaloka to Yamaloka, Lord Yamaraj praised me very graciously and offered me an excellent seat. As I glorified his truthfulness and wonderful service to the Supreme Lord, I noticed your father in Yamaraj's assembly. Though he had been very religious, because he broke an Ekadasi fast prematurely, he had to go to Yamaloka. Your father gave me a message for you. He said, In Mahismati lives a king named Indrasena. Please tell him about my situation here, that because of my past sinful deeds, I've been somehow forced to reside in Yamaraj's kingdom. Please give him this message from me. O son, kindly observe Indira Ekadasi and give much in charity so I can go upward to heaven. Narada continued, Just to deliver this message, O king, have I come to you. You should help your father by observing the fast of Indira Ekadasi. By the merit you gain, your father will go to heaven. King Indrasena asked, O great Naradaji, please be merciful and tell me specifically how to observe a fast on Indira Ekadasi, and also tell me during what month and on what day it occurs. Narada Muni replied, O king, please listen, as I describe to you the full process of observing Indira Ekadasi. This Ekadasi occurs during the dark fortnight of the month of Asvina. On Dashami, the day before Ekadasi, rise early in the morning, bathe, and then do some service for God with full faith. At noon, bathe again in running water, and then offer oblations to your forefathers with faith and devotion. Be sure not to eat more than once on this day, and at night sleep on the floor. When you awaken on Ekadasi morning, cleanse your mouth and teeth thoroughly, and then with deep devotion for the Lord, take this sacred vow. Today I shall fast completely, and give up all kinds of sense enjoyment. O lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Infallible One, please give me shelter at your lotus feet. At noon, stand before Sri Shalagram Shila and worship him faithfully, following all the rules and regulations. Then offer oblations to your forefathers. Next, feed qualified brahmanas and offer them some charity according to your means. Now take the food you offer to your forefathers. Smell it and then offer it to a cow. Next, worship Lord Rishikesha with his incense and flowers, and finally remain awake all night near the deity of Sri Keshava. Early in the morning of the next day, Dvadasi, worship Sri Hare with great devotion and invite brahmanas to a sumptuous feast. Then feed your relatives and finally take your meal in silence. O king, if you strictly observe a fast on Indira Ekadasi in this way, with controlled senses, your father will surely be elevated to the abode of Lord Vishnu. After saying this, Devarsi Narada immediately disappeared. King Indrasena followed the great saint's instructions perfectly, observing the fast in the association of his relatives and servants. As he broke his fast on Dvadasi, flowers fell from the sky. The merit Indrasena earned by observing this fast released his father from the kingdom of Yamaraj and caused him to attain a completely spiritual body. Indeed, Indrasena saw him rising to the abode of Lord Hare on the back of Garuda. Indrasena himself was able to rule his kingdom without any obstacles, and in time he handed over the kingdom to his son, and also went to Vaikuntha. O Judicare, these are the glories of Indira Ekadasi, which occurs during the dark fortnight of the month of Asvina. Whoever hears or reads this narration certainly enjoys life in this world, is freed of all his past sins, and at death returns home back to Godhead, where he lives eternally. Thus ends the narration of the glories of Asvina, Krishna Ekadasi, or Indira Ekadasi, from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. Notes: the 7 limbs of a king's domain are the king himself, his ministers, his treasury, his military forces, his allies, the brahmanas, the sacrifices performed in his kingdom, and the needs of his subject. Every living entity is an individual, and individually everyone has to practice Krishna consciousness to go back to Godhead. As stated in the Garuda Purana, someone who is suffering in hell cannot practice Krishna consciousness, because this requires some mental peace, which the tortures of hell make impossible. If a relative of a sinner suffering in hell gives him charity in the name of the sinner, he can leave hell and enter the heavenly planets. But if the sinner's relative observes this Ekadasi fast for his suffering kinsman, the kinsman goes directly to the spiritual world, as stated in this chapter. Sri Shalagram Shila is a deity of Lord Vishnu in the form of a smooth, round, dark stone. Devotees worship him to achieve liberation. The origin of the Shalagram Shila is described in the Padma Purana, Uttarakhanda. Our glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, for making this all possible for me and you.